everybody. How we all doing?
Howdy.
Everybody tired? Raise your hand if you need a drink. All right. Thanks for having us here. Just give you a little bit of background about us. We're the digital strategy team. Mike talked about us a little bit earlier. Our role here at Tealium is primarily focused on post-sales, primarily around the UDH, audience stream, and data access, helping our customers get up to speed, get quick ROI, conceptualize use cases, and just implement and get some good use cases out there. I want to just kick this off with a quote that if you've always done it that way, it's probably wrong, right? And I don't say that to be negative. I say it because we should always be thinking about how are we doing things, right? Just because I've had something running for 3 or 6 months, is it the right thing to do? We should always be measuring. We should always be testing, right, and revisiting things and having that questioning mindset and creative mindset within our campaigns. In the spirit of the Challenger series, the MarTech Challenger series that we talked about earlier, we're just going to walk through a couple of the things that we've implemented over the course of the past 6 months or so that are specifically things that we have implemented and things that we think that you should be implementing as a business. Few common themes that we're going to talk about, you're going to hear throughout this, are data unification, right? So we are a data hub, so we're going to talk about how do we actually ingest data from multiple data sources, how do we make it actionable, how do we analyze it. You're going to hear some themes around multi-channel, so not just targeting a visitor with just social, but how the UDH can power multiple channels and at a unified view at the visitor level. We're talking about people versus just clickstream behavior. Visitor stitching, our patented technology, we're going to talk, this is going to be a fundamental factor for all of this. So how do we actually technically unify that visitor, right? We do it by way of visitor stitching through our visitor keyring. Data access, our product that allows you to consume all of your clickstream event level data, any data that we're ingesting, look at your visitors, correlate and layer that data together to get a view of your campaigns and how they're being impactful or where you need to save money. And again, measurement, right? So we're going to talk about how we can measure these things, give a few specific examples. So the first challenge is increasing engagement. Pretty basic, right? The objective here is we want to increase online brand awareness, right? And we just want to get all of our visitors, using the internet, using the on-site interactions, registering, logging in, and of course, increasing online conversions, right? The big challenge here is there's a huge gap between your in-store purchasers and, of course, your online purchasers, right? If you're a retail business, you have millions of customers coming into your site each day, right? And you need to have that brand awareness and that messaging consistent across all of the channels and touch points that they interact with. And, of course, the systems themselves that hold this data are often disparate, right? They hold different types of data. It's not unified. It's generally disconnected. Right? So those are the two major challenges to basically get at these increased logins, registrations, and online conversions. In this example, the solution is going to be one of our ways that we can ingest data, which is the file upload through our omni-channel enrichment. In this example, you can essentially bring in as much data as you want. For specifically to build the awareness, we want to know some things like the purchase history, right? We want to know about any promotions they might be eligible for, any demographics, how long the customer has been a customer. If you have 3 million customers that have been, engaged with your brand and purchasing from you for 10 years, you might want to treat them a little bit differently when they hit your website. The connectors that we can use in our marketplace, in this instance, we're talking about email marketing and on-site personalization and combining the two. So it could be, for email, Responses, ExactTarget, Bronto, Silverpop, any of those vendors that we have within our marketplace. And the concept of data layer enrichment. This is the concept that the UDH, specifically audience stream, returns any of the visitor profile information that we create to the visitor's browser. So basically, any on-site personalization tool can access that and make decisions. So Optimizely, SiteSpect, Monetate, whatever it might be. Quick diagram. Here you're going to see some parallelism here. So you're going to see the POS data coming in through our omni-channel import. The visitor is obviously having a web session at some point in time. Audience stream is then stitching that visitor, updating the database and whatever email vendor that we're using, and then triggering the message out. On the next session, the landing page or that session is personalized with things that are relevant to them. Thank you for being a customer for 5 years. Here's $50 off, whatever that might be, et cetera. Call center and CRM integration. So this is a big one specifically for those customers out there of Tealium that are financial services or B2B. So in this example, we use a few things to get to this objective. Some of the problems here, right? So our objective is to basically merge the online ad spend with off-site conversions, right? That's a big challenge. You're spending a lot of money on your advertisements. How do you know that that's leading to that customer calling and requesting a loan, right? Or walking into the bank and actually signing the paperwork and actually completing that thing that you wanted them to do, whether it was purchase a loan or whatever it might be. Enriching the online visitor profiles, right? Again, making that messaging and that branding resound, and then unifying all of that information, okay? And the big challenge here, again, is that a lot of these transactions are happening offline. And we can use our solutions, right? Again, the file upload might be one, but in this specific example, we're talking about our collect API. So this is basically an automated programmatic way that you can tell any system to send data to the data hub. And by doing that, we can ingest the CRM activity that happens in real time. So when that customer service representative queues up the CRM and says, this person just completed their loan application, we can update the UDH, right? And at the same time, enrich all of our other vendors within our marketplace, right? So that could be DoubleClick Campaign Manager, Google Analytics. We have the real-time bidirectional integrations with Marketo and Salesforce live today. And this is what that would look like. So in this specific example, we're taking a call center and a CRM, and we're calling the Tealium API through it. And in this scenario, the user hits the web session, sees a phone number, calls the phone number. The IVR system and or the call center enriches the UDH. Okay, that data also goes out to Tealium Data Access. So not only do I have the web session data, I also have the call center data in the UDH. And then when that CRM finally gets updated, it calls data back into the UDH, and I want to talk about that. That's a constant process, right? So this is a constant communication between the UDH and the CRM via the Tealium Collect API. And sticking with the financial services example, for data access, all of this data is being unified in data access. If there's any analysts out there in the room, raise your hand. I know there's a few. You probably pulled data from 4 or 5 different data sources, right, when you need to run a report for management. For me, as a former analyst, I would love to have all this information in one place, and that's what data access is. So here's just an upper funnel example. You're going to see the web visits associated with certain campaigns, the bounce rate, inbound calls, click-to-call rate for each campaign type, and then the lower funnel, so the call rate, the close rate as it pertains to each type of campaign that you've been running. I'll pass it off to Richard.
Thank you. Firmographic-based on-site personalization. Let's get excited here a little bit. All right. So imagine that you can get information in real time, such as business size, how much that business spends, how many employees they have, and being able to personalize the first time they come to your site. It's feasible. We've done it. So what you could think about is really this increases new visitor engagement, it increases online conversions, it increases lead data for sales because you're pumping that information in, you're collecting it. Not only can you use it for that first time landing for personalization, but we also pull that in to audience streams so that you can build more advanced segments from it, and then we can pump that to other systems so that your salespeople know a lot more about that visitor and where they came from. So what we needed to do was integrate that third-party firmographic data in real time so that it could be used by the personalization service. And then we had to logically think about how can we utilize this information being pumped back, what do we need to utilize, and how can we cluster it so they can actually have creative that follows all the different segments they wanted to personalize to. So the solution, we created a custom extension in TIQ to bring back that firmographic data when it was sent to us, and we added it to the data layer so that we could not only use it for personalization, but then to bring that into audience stream to create the valuable segments that they wanted. And then they were able, when someone filled out a form, they were able to send that to Marketo, and now suddenly they're in a nurturing cycle, and they know a lot more about that visitor, so it's a much more intimate nurturing cycle. What it looks like, visitor starts a web session, an IP lookup service pulls that information in, they provide that firmographic data via the TIQ extension, and now they're using a personalization engine to personalize that landing page as soon as someone gets there. Audience stream has it, we create segments. If we have information to send that to Marketo, they have much more valuable segments to nurture from. It's an awesome process. The next one is monetizing subscriber lists. Not sure if we have any publishers in the crowd, but this is kind of valuable to you, but valuable just from an ideation standpoint. So we have the ability, like Jim mentioned, to provide better tracking and reporting. And specifically for a trade publication, we created a system so that they can better monitor multi-channel campaigns to their advertisers as they advertise through the publisher. So increasing engagement with advertiser content, creating more leads for that advertiser, and significantly reducing the time it took to create campaign reporting. So the challenge was really, how can we develop an ongoing manageable process to bring in that information that was valuable to the advertiser that the publisher had to provide so that we could target these individuals? The second piece was really, if they're going to create reports and we're helping them speed that up, what were the KPIs that they needed to report to that were valuable to that advertiser, and how can we set that up so they can pull that information out? The solution, going back to omnichannel, they were uploading all the targets that that advertiser wanted based upon job title, what companies they worked for, spend, a little similar to the last use case we just talked about. And campaign details were critical. So how do we know who's part of which campaigns, and how do we control for that based upon what they needed? Data layer enrichment brings that information back into the visitor's local storage so that we could use it, and they could personalize that information, the advertiser's content, to those people when they came back to the site. And then data access was key here. So EventDB and AudienceDB, they were able to blend that information together, and as soon as they could actually run the reports and report that back to advertisers, significantly reducing the reporting time that they currently had. So the solution was the advertiser would work with the pub to create a list, a targeted segment to work with. They would pull that out of their EDW and load that to us via omnichannel so that we had it available. What they would then do is send an email to this list. They would embed in a unique identifier so that when someone engaged with that email and came to the publisher's site, Audience Stream would pick up who that person is, stitch that information together, and now it's all readily available. And then as soon as we could add that into data access, they were able to report on the success of the campaigns and as fast as we could get the information to them. So there's a second part to this use case. Now they're able to not only sell a lot better campaigns because there's a lot better reporting, a lot better targeting going on, now they can piggyback and maximize ad revenue in a different way. So they wanted to serve campaign ads on site based upon the advertiser who's obviously sponsoring this campaign. But then they're going to have remnant inventory. They can't always sell every ad space on their site. So what they wanted to do was take that information, further segment those people into usable segments that they could send to a system like DoubleClick for Publishers so that they could actually monetize the ads with much more valuable segments that were now targetable by anyone in the open market. We increased advertiser engagement even more because they were personalizing the ads as soon as someone clicked through based upon the campaign parameters. A lot more leads were coming in for those advertisers. They were making much more profit from remnant inventory because they had smarter segments to send. And once again, significantly reducing reporting time. So we had to think about which audiences we need to send to the advertising networks. How could we smartly do this? And once again, determining KPIs. So the biggest piece is, from a reporting standpoint, are we setting up what they need to be successful? So the solution, once again, add visitors to audience based upon campaign and firmographic data points from their internal data stores, sending that out via our DoubleClick for Publishers connector. And then they were utilizing a business intelligence software to actually create real-time dashboards that those advertisers could log into to see how their campaigns were reporting. The flow looks somewhat like this. Like I said, it's a piggyback in the previous use case. So do the UDH via our connector to DoubleClick for Publishers. We're now sending that through so when a target visitor comes back to the site, they're able to sell that remnant inventory. Information goes from audience stream to data access, and then the advertiser are able to log into their dashboards to see how their campaigns are going. The next one's going to be affinity-based personalization. So what we want to do here is really provide a more efficient and intelligent process for identifying audiences. So what you can do is really, you don't need a lot of historical information to get this up and running. A lot of clients think that, hey, we need to upload all of our historical data in order to start doing some affinity-based retargeting or personalization. The reason you want to do this a lot sooner is you increase homepage engagement. You can also increase online conversions. And the challenge to really overcome was, like I just mentioned, they didn't really have a clean data set to upload and really give our system the information we needed to. So we had to quickly think of segments that they could utilize based upon on-site behavior in order to identify these affinities that they wanted to personalize for. So the solution was really, let's get something quick out the gate. Based upon a site, you can quickly start segmenting. Are they male? Do they normally look at female things? Do they purchase more male-based things than female things? Maybe they do both. It's one way to start quickly creating segments. The other piece was shopper types. Are they a VIP customer? Do they have the characteristics of a VIP customer? Are they purchasing high-level, high-ticket items, or are they a discount shopper? Are they always purchasing using promo codes or buying things that are heavily discounted? Once again, leveraging the information we send back to a visitor's local storage so that you can personalize content based upon the shopper type that they are. The solution here is fairly straightforward. Visitors come through on a web session. Based upon their behavior with their sessions, we're able to break them out into those 4 types that I described. Data layer enrichment brings that information back, and the personalization service is able to now customize their visit based upon that segment that you identified them for.
Thanks, Richard. This is a fun one. Discovering the customer journey. How many times do we read or hear about, figuring out what the journey of our visitors are and our customers, and what is the right mix of ways to target them? In this example, the objective here is just answer some key questions, right? And we're doing this by way of data access and the data ingestion that we're taking in. For example, what channel mix is most valuable? Right? If you think about what a visitor might see during a given day, how do you know what's being most impactful? I might receive an email at 8 a.m. I might see a Facebook ad at 10 p.m., right? And I might see a display ad. Which one was most valuable, right? And how does that impact all of the other channels that I'm using, right? In this example, we can talk about direct mail. So, if you have a catalog business, this is very relevant to you, right? Catalogs cost money to make, right? How do you know that sending them something via mail is the right mix of also, merging that with the ways you're targeting them online, right? So the goal here is to spend high on the highest performing channel mix. So increase your spend when you find that out, right? When you figure out what that mix is. And decreasing spend on the poor performing mixes, or eliminating them altogether. If something's not performing for a certain month of the year or a certain season of the year, optimize your spend, take that money, put it elsewhere. And then an increase in the enhancement of the data that you can pull, right? And by putting that all in one location again, I'm hitting on the data access point again, makes it just 10 times easier to get the information that you need regarding these channels. The challenges here, again, the fragmented visitor profiles, right? You've got all this direct mail information sitting in your enterprise data warehouse somewhere, or even in your CRM, right? Again, they're disparate data sources, and it's really difficult to understand the impact of online versus offline targeting, right? How you can't easily answer those questions. Again, the solution we talked about, the file upload. This could also be the REST API that we discussed. If you wanted to programmatically get this set up so that anytime you wanted to change the visitor status within UDH, you could do that via code. The channels extension in TIQ. If you don't have it set up, bother your account managers. So ask them about it, figure it out. It's very powerful within TIQ. It allows you to easily set up your incoming campaigns, properly attribute them, give them credit. But it also normalizes the data that's coming into data access, right? And that's also what Audience Stream is doing. When you're importing data from other sources, we're allowing you to normalize this information coming from all the sources, online and offline, and streamline that. And part of that happens on the website, and part of that happens within Audience Stream and what we take in from offline. And again, the event DB and audience DB tables. Correlating these tables, Mike talked a little bit earlier about, again, the behavioral clickstream behavior versus targeting a person or a visitor. Data access allows you to look at your visitors, right? So you could look at a subset of your visitors. What is my channel mix for my high spenders or my VIPs versus my dormant shoppers? I need to figure out what that mix is, how it differs for each one of those groups. And I need to be able to analyze that and take action on it. So the solution again here, you'll see user has the web session. So we're from an event level, we're capturing every single event that comes in and what channel is associated with it. So is it a display homepage bounce, or is it a paid search homepage bounce? We're capturing all that automatically because you have TIQ installed. The channels extension will normalize that. Again, in parallel, there's data coming in from your EDW that handles all the direct mail, when the person was last mailed, how often they've been mailed for this example. We're stitching all that information together. And then here in this example, we'll concentrate a little bit on the data piece, but this powers everything that you're doing within UDH, right? This unification and discovering the channel mix, because you can then build very custom audiences around people that click through from Facebook 4 times in a week, but don't click through from your display ads. So you can start suppressing them and being a little bit more intelligent about constantly taking them and evaluating them, right? And you can then retarget them through our connector marketplace or again through data layer enrichment. This is just an example displaying this information via data access. This can be done, of course, with Domo, Tableau, Looker, Burst, whatever it might be. It all sits on Amazon services, and so whatever plugs into Amazon services, you could pull this data in on. But we're basically showing revenue associated with each channel, right? And this isn't your traditional type of attribution modeling where you pay for an attribution service and they're tracking all the impressions and whatnot. This is more lower funnel, right? We're seeing what they're clicking through on, but we're also able to associate the direct mail spend with all the other channels over time. And via the data set, you could do this in the aggregate. You could even look at specific timeline versions within your visualization tool, depending on how you want to mix that up and view the data, right? So you could look at your roll up for your VIPs and see where that spend is going. That's all we have. So thanks, everybody.